Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. First of all, I'm very sorry for the delay for uploading my second video, but yeah, things really kept me busy. I'm really sorry about that. So as you all know, this is the channel which talks about manual testing. I am also very sure there are trillions of channels talking about the same thing. Manual testing is nothing, or I would not let me not categorize it saying manual testing in specific. Any kind of testing is nothing but verifying the application against the requirements. This is a very layman definition of what the testing is. You know what testing do. If someone asks you what testing do, testing helps you identifying the issues against the requirements. It helps you making the application flawless. It helps the user to enjoy the experiences they are using the application through. It helps you reducing the bugs in the application. It helps the layman understand the application very easy and hassle free and enjoy the application they are using. Okay, so if I go by my presentation and then I talk about my perspective and thoughts about manual testing. Now, this is what I have written as what manual testing is. It's nothing but the process of verifying the software work as required by the physical using by the functional and features of the application as an end user, which I have just said. After that, what's why manual testing? Okay, why do we need manual testing? Manual testing is need to identify bugs, which I've just said, right? Moving on to the next slide. What happens now? Why do we need manual testing? Let's go by an example. Okay, so I'm taking a simple example here of a sign in page for an Amazon. So here, what happens is if you're not testing an application and you simply deploy the application to production without being tested. So here, what happens in the first window, which you see towards your left side, here it says sign in. Okay, here you need to enter your email ID or phone number. And now what happens if the application is not tested? You simply come here, you click on continue without entering anything, without so you simply click on continue button. It takes you to the application page. It takes you to the next page, which is nothing but the password page. Or if the application is not tested, there might be chances that it will not take you to the second page which says about password. It will directly take you to the Amazon homepage. So this is which is very wrong. When it is sign in mentioned, which means that you need to sign in, right? So this is what happens when you're not testing it. So what happens when you test? When you when you test when you test something. So when you click on sign in button and you're testing it, for example, if the application is tested, when you enter some incorrect password, say about Lubna at thoughtfultesting at .com, yeah, at gmail.com. Okay. Now that's an user ID which is not or never registered with Amazon. It gives you an error when you click on continue button saying, so in the first scenario, what happens? You don't enter anything, you click on continue, no error message is coming, and the user is directly taken to home page. No validation is required, nothing. Though it is having a sign in button, though it is having a required field, though asking you to continue after entering, but because it is not tested, no validations are performed, nothing is happening, you are directly taken to the home page. Is it not wrong? Is it not very harmful for the product owner? Is it not a very uneasy experience for the user? It is, right? So when sign in button is given, field is given, you have a continue button, which means you need to enter your password, your username, or your phone number, or whatever needed. And you click on continue button. It should logically it should take it to the password page. Okay. Now, if you are entering the right username, you click on continue. It takes you to the next page. Password. You enter password. You click on continue or sign in. It takes you to the home page, which is the right, flow of the application. Now under this test scenarios, what happened? There are different kind of tests you need to do here. That's not just okay, you are entering the correct user ID, you click on continue, you enter the right password, you click on continue, you lands to the home page. No. Here the testing doesn't stop there. Okay, here you need to identify different scenarios of what you need to test. So when you identify scenarios, there are positive and negative scenarios, right? So you need to identify what is positive scenario, what is negative scenario. By the term itself, you understand when I say positive, it means you are giving the correct details. You're clicking on sign in, you land on home page. But what are negative scenarios here in the sign in page? You must be thinking, right? There are multiple of negative scenarios here. You're not entering anything, you're clicking on continue button. You must be shown with some error message or user friendly message which the client mentioned in the requirement. Okay, so what happened? Now, when you are not entering anything, you're clicking on continue. It should not lead you anywhere. It should instead throw you an error message saying like either your password or your username is missing. Okay. And once you rectify it and you click on continue, it should take you to the next page, which is password page. In this page, now what happens? Okay. There are also negative scenarios here as well. So what happens here? And you click on password page and you click on sign in button. Okay. If it is a correct password, it takes you to the home page. But if it is incorrect, you forgot your password and you're entering something wrong, it should not allow you to. It should still throw you an error message saying that your password is incorrect. Right. Now there are combinations and possibilities with this sign in page here. So there are multiple combinations. You enter incorrect password, you enter your correct username, and you click on sign in. It should not allow you to. You enter incorrect username and correct password. It should not allow you. It should not allow you to sign into next page or move on to the next page unless and until you enter or provide both the details correctly. Right. And when you click on sign in button, it should allow you to. So that is why testing is needed. Now, how to get started with testing? You understood the need of testing so far. Okay, I in the previous slide, nothing but this one. You understood what happens if you're not testing. What happens you test a sign in? Because I took a simple example of sign in here. So next, moving forward to how to get started with testing. Okay, the first thing to get started with testing is to understand the requirement. If some client come to you with a project, you can't say like, okay, let's get started with the testing tomorrow. No, you need to get into calls with the client, get in conversation with the client, understand the requirement, understand the business. Okay, what they're talking about, what is need of it, why do they need testing, what is the intensity of testing, what to what level you can test, all needs to be analyzed. Okay, and how do you analyze these? Once you understand the business. Okay, for that it's very, very important for you to understand the business. And when you understand the business, you will obviously understand the requirement documents. Okay, so there are two types of requirements, which I have already just spoken few minutes back in the same video, which talks about the functional requirements and the specification requirements. Correct. Functional requirements will always give you the functionality of what it needs to be, how it needs to work, and specification will give you under what specification the application needs to be developed. Now, what is next? You understood the business, you have understood the analyze the functional document, you understood the requirement documents, and everything is clear to you. What's next as a QA you will do? You will sorry, you will write a test plan, right? Now, what is test plan? Yeah. Test plan is nothing but it's a QA team which decide how you're going to test the application. So you sit, you talk about the plan, you plan how things will go. That's nothing but a test plan. Okay, what does a test plan document consist of? Test plan document consists of all everything you will be single thing you will be doing when you are testing the application. Okay, you will mention the strategy, you will mention the functionality, you will mention the modules, you will mention the requirement resources, you will mention the estimation, you will mention what tool you are using, you will mention what browser you are using, what devices you are using, and so on. It's simply like sitting down and making plans of how to test, and same thing will be drafted in words. That is nothing but a test plan. Now what's next? Now you're clear with the requirements, now you're clear with the test plan. What comes next? As a tester, definitely the thing which needs to come into picture now is test cases. Because you understood the requirements, because you have the test plan ready, what's the next thing you will do is you will write test cases for the from the requirement. Now what are the things you need to write a test case from the requirement? You will first thing you will do is analyze the scenarios, identify the scenarios, right? Identify the scenarios. Now going back to the previous sheet, okay, slide here, when I'm coming to the example here, identifying the scenarios. Now identifying the scenarios means nothing but scenario is nothing is what needs to be tested. Okay, so what needs to be tested in this page? So as I already spoken about a few minutes back, we have identify scenario like positive and negative scenarios, which means when you're giving both the data correct and you click on sign in, it leads to the expected page. When you are giving either of the data incorrect, it should not allow you to navigate to the next page. These are the scenarios. Okay. Once you identify the scenarios, you will write the test case. What are the test case? Based on the scenario, you will write the test case. Scenarios are nothing but it is scenarios is nothing but what needs to be tested. Test cases is how you test those scenarios. Okay. Now you will need to write everything in words here. In whatever you identified as a scenario here in this slide, you need to write everything here in words in step 3. Okay. Now, what's next? So once you write test cases, so how do you write test case? You'll identify the scenario, you will write down the steps, you will cover both the scenarios, both positive and negative, and then you get started with that. Once your test cases are completely written, now how do you and where do you write the test cases is a very different question, and we'll answer that in the next video. How do you write a test case? After you write the test case, what happens next? It gets reviewed. Now when everybody is new to the project, it you generally share it with the client, and clients review it so that they make sure and the team make sure that you understand the business well enough, you understand the functionality well enough, and if they have any feedback, they'll come back to you and they'll ask you for the corrections which you need to update as and when they provide you the update. Okay. So, if the person who is already leading the project is senior in the project as well, been working in couple of months or weeks from where you started, so he'll review the test cases. She. What happens next after the test cases are reviewed? Test case if the application is ready. Like suppose if you are working in an agile method, which means you are working along with the dev side hand in hand, and dev and testing goes hand in hand. So once a certain part of test cases are ready, by then they will give you a piece of code to be tested. That is nothing but agile, right? So when if you are following agile, by the time you completed your test cycle process, okay, they will ask you to execute the start testing, which means nothing but you are validating your product against the test cases you have written. You are validating the product they have given you against the requirement analysis or requirement documents what you have shared by the client. Okay. Now test cases execution involve certain steps here. While you are executing test cases, you will log issues, you will identify bugs, you will log those issues, you will keep a track of issues, report bugs and all. So how do you report a bug? It depends. How do you report a bug? Completely depends upon the discussion you had it with your clients. Either they are giving you any tool to log issues, or they are asking you to keep a track of defect tracker in your local, which is nothing but maintaining one Excel sheet, uh, defect template across and sharing it across the team, and everybody logs that defect over here. So what happens? And you share the same defect tracker with the dev team. Right. So same defect tracker is being handled by a team member, by a QA member, by a dev member, a dev team member, by a manager, and by the client to keep a track of everything is in intact well according to the requirements. Now what happened? Now there is another cycle. When the test cycle is finished, the requirement analysis is done, test cases, test plan is created, test cases are written, test cases are reviewed. Now in execution, now there is a bug tracker. Okay, report tracker, bug tracker, defect tracker is one and the same. So now what happens when you have a bug tracker ready? You identify all the issues there. So for about login page, if you are identifying two issues and you share it across the dev team, what happens? You when you are creating a known template, you give an issue ID as well, like issue ID one, issue ID two, and so on. So suppose if you share the sheet with the team, you share it with the dev team. They fix it. They'll after they fix it, they move the location. I mean, sorry, status of the bug to fix. When you are logging it, it will be new. Then when they are in, I mean, obviously things will not happen this in Excel. It will be new open and then it will be fixed and it will be back to you. Okay. So if suppose if sec test case is failing, what do? You will when you fail. So for example, when you identify the login page, it the second scenario, which is a negative scenario, which is failing. Okay. Positive scenario. Okay, take an example of positive scenario. You're entering user ID correct, you're entering correct password, and you click on continue sign in. Still it's not allowing you to sign in. You log an issue. What do? You attach this defect ID to the test case. So test case 1 is failing, you'll move the status to fail, and you'll keep that defect ID 1. You'll log defect in another tab, right? So you will write that, or you can link that as defect 1 in the defect call. Okay. I'll definitely make a test case bug cycle and a test how do you report this and all. Now, see, this is what I'm talking about, the definition. So now, what I'm saying is, there are certain things, as I already spoken just few minutes back, like there are certain test cases. I mean, there are test cases which we needs to be written in using Excel, defining, or if the user gives you the tool to write the test cases. Okay, so in next video we'll look at both of them. So I'll let you know how to prepare the Excel sheet. I'll also let you know how to use Jira for writing the test cases. Okay, any question, guys? Also, request you to follow this accounts. I'll really thankful to you for all the help and support you guys are giving me. Once again, thank you so much. Hope to see you guys very soon with definitely this information this time. How to write the template. Yeah, this case. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Keep loving, keep sharing, keep talking, keep sharing knowledge, and keep pouring in your love to me. Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care.